I lose my ability to think straight or intelligently in confrontational or unfriendly social situations. Any suggestions for adaptation or improvement? Well, a couple, I suppose. One is that when you get nervous in this kind of situation that you're describing, what often happens to people is they start paying attention to themselves. They get self-conscious. So, let's say I got self-conscious all of a sudden during this Q&A. What would happen is that I'd stop paying attention to the questions and the screen and what I'm doing, and I'd start paying attention to how I was feeling and to the nervousness, and then I'd start to get aware that I was not responding properly, and that would make me more nervous, and then I would get more aware of that, and that can just shut me down entirely. And that's happened to me now and then in a lecture, and sometimes it almost happened when I was talking to Sam Harris the first time. I paused for a long time and then became aware of the pause, and then anyways, what you have to do in a situation like that is, it's not so much that you have to stop attending to yourself, because if you start thinking, I should stop attending to myself, then you'll just think about yourself more. What you have to do instead is pay more attention to the situation and to the people that you're talking to. So you have to increase the degree to which you're attending outwardly, and that'll stop you from attending inwardly. That's a very effective technique. You can practice that, generally speaking. Every time you get nervous, start paying more attention, and that'll help you out a lot. That's a really good suggestion for social anxiety in general, is that if you see, most people, but not everyone, but most people have enough implicit social skill because they were reasonably socialized when they were children, so that they do know how to act in social situations, but they get anxious, and then that interferes with them implementing what they know. Just like if you're a pianist and you get anxious and self-conscious while you're playing, you'll forget what you know because, well, you've activated a different part of your brain. If you can remember to pay attention and you can direct your attention outward and you attend hard enough, then what will happen, and try to put the other person at ease and try to ask them questions, then that'll kick in the automatic, because you're paying attention to what the person is doing and to their facial expressions and all of that, that will clue in the automatic and implicit knowledge that you have and make things much more smooth and anxiety free. So attention really plays a huge role in regulating anxiety. Lauren asks, I would love to hear you do a lecture series on raising children properly. Is that something you would consider? Well, in my new book, I've written a chapter on that called Don't Let Your Children Do Anything That Makes You Dislike Them. And I've laid out a philosophy of care and discipline that's predicated partly on a French philosophical legal notion, which is do not multiply rules beyond necessity. It's sort of like a legal equivalent to Occam's razor. And an English common law principle which is use minimal necessary force. And I think the union of those two, which is don't have too many rules, but make sure that you properly enforce the ones that you do have, is a good start for how you might consider your attitude with regards to raising children. The other thing you have to figure out is exactly what's your aim. And one of the aims that people have had most recently, pushed by clueless psychologists, I would say, is that you want children to have high self-esteem. And that's actually a large part trait neuroticism anyways. And it can be modified to some degree. Jerome Kagan has done some very interesting work on that. The best thing to do, I think the best thing to orient yourself towards with regards to children, is that you're trying to make your children, or help your children to be delightful in the eyes of others. And so that means they have to be reasonably well socialized, and that really takes place between the ages of 2 and 4. Because what you want for your children is that when they go out into public, when they're away from you, or even with you for that matter, what you want for your children is for other people to genuinely like them. Because if they behave reasonably and they attend properly to adults and they know how to play with other children, then wherever they go, they're going to be unless they encounter someone truly malevolent, they're going to be welcomed with smiles and open arms. And that's not going to be fake, because almost every human being actually likes children if they're reasonably behaved. And so your job is to make your children highly socially desirable, because that opens up the world to them. So that's not a lecture series, but it's a little lecture.